Play. Gives me a little more center.
No, no, I see you.
Okay, we are live. Yes, James is in his phone already.
I'm trying to share. I don't even see it yet.
Good evening, guys. This is Leslie Neely. I am the owner of I Breathe Melody, which is a vocal contracting, vocal performance coaching, vocal development, all things voice, and we care about the people that we serve. That's who I am. And tonight we are having the discussion about mastering the sound with the male voices. Last week, I met with four very dope young ladies that I have personally worked with over time. So I said, let's hear from the guys because I know very little about the male vocal world. It's a whole world into itself. So tonight we're going to find out more about that. If you guys will do me a favor and share this broadcast, please share this. While we're doing this, I'm going to go to my page and share it too. We're all going to do that. Need to change my privacy settings because it keeps some of y'all out, but we need to keep all of y'all in tonight, if that's okay. So let me start with the introductions. If you guys can hear us clearly just post in the comments. We hear you. We got you. Let's go. Whatever. And we can get started. So in no particular order, we're just going to be random here. So as you can see, I have three of my DMV brothers. I just lost, but there he is. Three of my DMV brothers and one of my Southeast regional brothers. So we're going to start with Southeast. Southeast Demarcus, right?
South was just
South.
we right in the middle. Texas, baby.
Y'all right in the
Texas, right
middle.
in the middle.
My southern brother.
We right in the middle of the country. Yeah.
Okay. Let me go up here to the corner. We're going to start with the Dr. The Roderick Giles. He is the owner of the Giles Music Group. And I'm going to let him explain a whole lot more about himself in a second. But he is a master of choral music to me. I think his work is outstanding. It's always classy and polished. And it's clear that somebody taught him right how to do this thing. And he cooks too in his own way.
Okay.
And then we have our brother Jeremiah Hicks, who is a world-renowned gospel artist, background vocalist. He's been on tour with Kirk Franklin, y'all. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And he's also vocal producing now. I've had the honor to be hired by Jeremiah on 2 occasions so far. And we are looking for more work to be done. But he's amazing at what he does. And we are going to share with him tonight. Then we have our brother Demarcus Williams. Some of y'all may not know this face, but some of y'all do know this face. But trust me, you've heard his work. He is a singer. He is a songwriter. Jeremiah is a songwriter too. And if I may say, he's the brother of Dr. Myron Williams, who is one of my favorite male voices ever. But Demarcus is down in the southern region of the country, and he has a vocal contracting business that he's going to talk about in his introduction. And last but not least, Mr. James Murphy, who is just all of these things wrapped up in one, and he's hilarious. So what I'm going to say is, please buckle your seatbelts, guys, because the cut up started last night. We've already been cutting up in the studio so far, and it's going to continue. Okay? It's going to continue. So, Roger, you laughing already. So we're going to dive into this world, and we're going to talk about how you navigate between session singing and live singing. Oh, I forgot to mention that James Murphy is my Soulful Symphony brother, and I'm glad to have him here. So, Roderick, tell us a little snapshot of yourself and what you do.
Okay, praise the Lord, everybody. As, as,
Praise the
as Leslie already said, my name is Roderick Giles. I'm the CEO of the company Giles Music Group, where our slogan is, all right, drink Leslie, where our slogan is our one-stop solution for quality music. Um, I decided to start a company because I've been singing background for many, many years, and I've developed a way of seeing what was required and what needed to happen, and how things, in my opinion, how I wanted to do things. So that's how I started this company, to be able to outsource any type of needs, music needs, band needs, vocalists, soloists, if you need songwriting, if you need, vocal, all of that, So that's what made me get into that. I've been singing background professionally um, under my own umbrella since about 2003, 2004. Um, when Dr. Bobby Jones was, in alive, we did a lot of background singing for that. Even
Wait.
Still alive.
Wait, hold on.
no,
No, wait.
no, not saying he was dead.
Yet
I'm
he
talking about
lives.
the show
He,
itself.
okay, all
When
right,
the I'm
okay.
sorry, no. When the show
Don't do
itself
that. Don't
was
do that.
still
Body is still alive. He's still alive.
was
We,
rolling and
Okay.
still live. That's what I meant to say. I've been singing. I started in 2004, and I've been getting calls back every year until the last season of that. So that's really what got the ball rolling for me. It's been a pretty good journey so far. So I hope this answered your question.
Yes, and we've shared a stage in Europe before.
Yes, I forgot. I forgot about that. Yeah, we went over to Europe a few times. Of course, we can't go during COVID, but we went a few
I hate
different
that.
times, and it's been really, 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 really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, cool, cool. Demarcus, tell us about what you're doing, what you have done, what you're doing now.
Well, hello everybody. Demarcus Williams here. I am actually, I don't even know how to define, like when you ask me that question, because I've been doing it so long, I don't even know where to start. Let's just say this. The Lord has just blessed me to walk in
Okay.
many doors to where I am like what I'm the glue. So I put everything together. It started with MDM and Voices when my brother and I had a group from a while back, and we did
So, did
recordings.
you
And
write there? Who wrote there?
Myron wrote there. Myron wrote there. Yeah. Now I, helped arrange some of the parts in the back part of it, but yeah, the
And y'all do
majority, yeah,
a
he.
version of the Star Spangled Banner. No,
Oh
God bless
yeah, oh
America.
yeah.
God bless
God
America.
bless America. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
God bless. Man, you know what? When people mention that stuff, man, I just think that that is such an old life. Like, I sometimes I feel like it's dead, but then the Lord will just send somebody to say, "No, man, you made an impact on me during my college years.
Yeah.
You made an impact. Your music just helped me to get through some rough nights and rough times."
Yes.
And so, God has just blessed us to be and to remain a little relevant during this time. So, what I'm doing now is I've taken what I've learned. I don't really do a whole lot of singing, but I do more teaching. So I put the glue together. I've done vocal coordination for conferences, for different things. We just did a whole. Look, June was real busy for us. We just say it that way.
That's great.
Doing things for a whole bunch of people here. A lot of the major A-list artists down here. So God has just blessed us to be in a very different predicament of teaching, and that's kind of where I am. So when you hit me up and was like, "Hey, I need to, let's talk about this tennis section," I'm like, "I'm good," because I want all the tennis to know how we can all function together and
Yeah.
make the dream come alive.
Yes. And you also work with the NFL choir, correct?
Crazy. NFL singers, man, they just pulled me in to be a vocal trainer. I work under Myron Butler for that situation.
Okay.
So whenever he can't really be there, then I just fill the void. But it's just funny, man. I just filled in for a rehearsal for him and went in there and said, "Y'all sound horrible, and we need to fix that." So everybody that sing high and loud, come over here. Everybody sound like Barry White, come right here. And man, since then, it's been a relationship that has lasted for the last 6 years. So I love Miss Melanie Few and those boys, man. Those are my dudes, man.
That is awesome. Awesome. Okay. James Murphy, who are you?
I don't know.
Hmm.
Yes, hi. Good evening, everyone.
Wait,
Oh my.
There we
wait,
go. And it
wait.
begins. And it begins.
Yes, here it
James
is.
Murphy. Let's see. Let me stop first of all. I started singing since this is BGV related. I started singing BGVs when I was 17 years old, a junior in high school, going into my senior year. And from there, it's something that immediately I knew I wanted to do. And I did it for years. Actually, 6 years I did it professionally, meaning it was like a source of income for me for a while. So I've done that. I did some choir directing over the years. Currently, I serve as the director of worship and arts at the Carolina Missionary Baptist Church, where my pastor and first lady is Pastor Anthony Moore and First Lady Cynthia Moore. And in that role, I actually have a praise team and a choir. So I've kind of transitioned from background singing, recording artist into a role where I'm able to empower others to do what I've been doing all these years.
Okay. Great. And Jeremiah Hicks.
The Jeremiah.
The
Okay, here we go.
Jeremiah.
Hey everybody, Les, thank you so much for this opportunity. I appreciate you so much being on here with these amazing singers and brothers. Yeah, I'm a minister of music at my church. I'm a PK as well. I've been at my church all of my life. I'm 36, and I started in the music ministry at the age of 2. And I'm now currently the minister of music now at my church and worship leader, as well as I'm a husband, a father. Shout out to my wife, Tanisha, to our daughter, Neve. And I've been doing background professionally, probably started when Roger did, Bobby Jones, 2003, professionally. On that level, I was doing the local group thing for a while. And of course, start off with a group. And Alvin Dockett and Blessed, and then with Mike McCoy, Voices United, and Charles Butler and Trinity. And then started singing with other artists. In 2016, I released my first album. Actually, I released a single in 2015, then I released my album in 2016. And then last year, March of 2019, I released my latest single, My Help. And so I've done background, of course, the Bobby Jones gospel thing. Yes, my project is called A Worship Heart, a worship, and in which I was privileged to do a live recording here, actually at my church, and that was a great experience for me to do that. My first album live experience, that was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Let me say, yeah, Bobby Jones gospel was really a lot of training ground for me, getting those calls to sing for several artists and even make some connections with them. I've been honored to even work with I Breathe Melody under the leadership of Leslie Neely. I've worked.
You allowed me to hire you. You responded to the email finally.
There we go.
That sounds right. That sounds
James, don't start. Don't start. I've worked with Roderick for several years. I worked with James, Demarcus. I think we're the only ones we haven't worked together, man. So hopefully in the future, we can
Oh
work
yeah,
together in some capacity. But yeah, I'm just privileged.
and
And
it real quiet.
I'm honored to be here and have the opportunity to share tonight and have open, honest, and transparent conversation, Liz, because we know that's how you like it.
Yeah, it has to be the truth, the whole truth,
Nothing but
nothing but the truth. Because we want people to, I really want people to view these lives and assess if this is the lane that they're supposed to be in. Because it seems like everybody wants to be a BGV. Some people like being a BGV, they like that lane. Some people use that as a path to artistry, which that 20 feet can either make or break you, you know. So these honest conversations will help people. I hope they'll assess whether this is really for them, and if it's not, it's okay to do something else. It's all right. Oh, yeah, it's all right. So let's walk on by that. So let's get started. So we're going to talk about the difference in live singing versus session singing. And I believe that there is this, the skill sets are different. For live singing, I believe, you know, you have to be, you know, attentive, retain your part, be able to project, give energy. But in addition to that, session singing is a little different to me. That's the lane I actually prefer. I've done the live settings and live recordings, gosh, oh, like 20 years now. So that's good, but that session singing when you can really get in the box and just deliver, you know, the same energy in the, you know, you build friendships and you learn who your good singing mates are and those kinds of things. How does that work in the tenor world? Like, do you guys prefer live? Do you prefer studio? How does that work for you? Just jump in at any time.
I can start. I prefer session singing. I prefer session singing because for me, it's more controlled in terms of you have your own box, you have your headphones. Usually, I'm one ear in, one ear out, or sometimes I do like a half on both ears, so that I can hear the click track, hear the music, as well as hear the room, and I get a better sense of just the unity of the room between all of the singers
Mm-hmm.
when I'm in a session. I love sessions because it allows you to really hone in and focus on whatever the tone is, whatever the texture, uh, the vibratos, the straight tone, ending the consonants together, all of those things, so that you match. Because in the studio, it will tell you the truth. When you listen to those stacks and you listen to that playback, you will blare out if you're not blending with those who are, you know, executing certain intonations and certain, you know, parts of the song. Live singing for me is a little more difficult, especially background. Leading is one thing because you take the breaths when you want to take them, you put your vibrato where you want to take it, you jump in and out when you
Right.
want to. But when you are singing background, especially live, sometimes I think the issue for me is the sound. If the stems all of a sudden jump to a level that are about to rip your ears off, or if you can no longer hear keys, you know, that's an issue. Or if everybody's sharing the same wedge and maybe everybody's not blending. And so the live session, the live singing is a little different for me in terms of my ear. It makes me work harder than being in this actual in a booth with singers. So I prefer personally session singing over live singing, because it really allows you to really be able to execute the song. Because sometimes what's going on in the house is different from what's going on stage, and if you're using in ears, it could be a monster. Trying to figure out if you're blending or not, all of those things. So live, I'm sorry, not live session, studio session for me is my preference.
Okay, Roderick, Giles.
Yes.
Definitely.
My thing in terms of session versus live, me personally, I prefer them both. And what I mean by that is, I think that, as you said, you know, singing live, there is a certain measure of talent. Uh, Singing studio is a certain level of skill, you know. But in my vantage point, if you understand and develop the art of session singing, whether you're in the booth or live, it doesn't matter if you're live or in the booth.
Mm.
Right.
Um, I think
Right.
that even with my personal singers, that's something I know I give them a hard time in rehearsal about that. But when singing, trying to match sounds, trying to match pitch, I associate them with colors.
Okay.
If you have colors in your brain, if you know I want a bright sound, then I think yellow. I think bright green. But if I want a rich, dark vowel O and R, I think maroon, I think brown, I think, you know, burgundy. I think those kind of things. And if you give people a visual mentally, they can adapt whether they're live or studio. Singing straight to the vowels, you know, how you say, you formulate your vowels at the same time, the same way.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it easier. And if you do it the right way live, you minimize your overdubs in the studio. You know, um, I personally like the live feel sometimes for the background.
Mm-hmm.
There's a presence there in the room that
Yeah.
you have to kind of make happen in the studio.
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you overdub so much, you lose the
You
energy.
lose it.
You
Yes.
have the perfected sound, but there's no energy behind it. So me personally, let's not talk too long. I prefer both live and studio. You develop the art of
Mm-hmm.
the studio sound, and you can produce that live. So it doesn't matter whether you're in the booth or if you're doing it live.
Yeah, I talked last
Right.
week about Jonathan Nelson helping me because before my BGV life, I sang lead all the time.
Hmm.
So, and that was not in the studio. That was, in church or in sessions or whatever. And when it came time to do a lead in the box, I was so this big in my voice. When my voice is like this big, and he's like, "No, you have to find that place and bring it in here." And after a few takes, I finally got to it. But that's something I wanted to do, and I knew I had the skill set to do it. So once I just practiced it a few times, and then had that push to like get it done, it's a really, really big, really big difference.
And
Yeah.
then, you know, Leslie, not to cut you off, but you know, sometimes too, you know, when you deal with people that may be professional, they may be professional background singers. But okay, I'll give you this case in point. A drummer is a great drummer in church. He can play drums in the church, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's a recording drummer. It's
Mm-hmm.
like little things that you know, makes a big difference. And
Right.
sometimes you can record live with 12, but in the studio, if you want that tighter sound, until some people get to that level, they may be professional background singers, but vocally, they might can't stand in the studio. That's why you lessen the amount of people in the studio to get that cleaner sound. So it takes work either way. So
Yes, it does take work, and it takes work of a
Mm-hmm.
great vocal producer as well,
yeah,
and a producer to figure that out instead of just throwing people
Right.
together, and then you're not pleased with the sound that you get. But you
right,
threw them together,
Mm-hmm.
right.
and then you don't articulate well or communicate well what it is you really want, so
Right.
that the singer can understand. Demarcus, jump in here.
I'm just going to kind of add and piggyback off of what the guys have already stated. I do like live singing. I'm familiar with that because the actual room is there and you get to feel the essence of what's going on in the room and in the live um, ministry, the live ministry time. You just get to feel it. And then, coming into the studio to kind of clean it up, if there is any cleanup doing, I've done, and you know what, we don't even get to do. There has been a long time since I've heard somebody do a live recording without cleanup, and it's kind of unheard of these days. And so when I was working with my brother and he wanted to do some to capture some moments on his CDs, he was like, okay, well, we're not gonna go back in and do overdubs, we're gonna release it right away in this, so the singers got to be tight, so they got to blend, they got to know what the blend is live so that we won't have to do studio.
Right.
So you have to get that blend right, man. And that's the only thing, being able to hear, like my brother said, with the in ears and all that kind of stuff. We didn't even have all that. You
Right.
just have to be able to,
In
your
the room.
ability to hear, right? Hear the room and hear yourself in the room.
Yes.
Like listen, and if you just hear you too loud. And
Yes.
that's just a simple thing. If you just hear yourself, then you are
Good.
too loud,
Right.
and you need to listen. You need to blend with everybody else. So it's small things like that. In addition to that, with studio singing, we've run into some issues with people just not being in the room of the studio. So you have to prepare them mentally. And I started sending out notices saying, "Hey, y'all make sure home is taken care of first. If you're a husband, hey, check with your wife, make sure everything's gonna be cool. You leaving the kids. So make sure you buy a pizza or something or a movie to keep the kids occupied. Ladies, if you're leaving that child with your husband, you know you got to make the bottles first or make the food first. You know, don't be mad at them when you come on. You know, you got to help them mentally because they can be in the studio and you trying to get the best out of them, and they think about, oh, I didn't cook a roast or I didn't cook corn, you know, something like that. So, you know, just kind of helping them prepare mentally to be able to give you everything that you have. And my brother was talking about just kind of coloring your vocals. I think that's important. Like we utilize this thing called we liken it to the brass section. So like if you have a trumpet voice, which is like a loud voice, then we say, okay, we'll put you over here, but we got to couple you with somebody that's an oboe or somebody that is a clarinet, so that it'll bring out a rounder sound and it won't just all be like loud brass. I've heard so many like screechy sounds lately, and that's because the sound is not balanced. So you gotta, you know, there's different methods that you gotta use. So defining your singers and letting them know who they are and what contribution they're gonna make to the recording is very important.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So James,
Yeah.
so from the choral perspective, and Roderick, you can chime in this if you want to as well. I watch people like you when we do soulful symphony things. And it's amazing to me how you guys make the transition. I've been singing in church all my life, and I can sing church, but actually my voice fits more choral settings because of the way I like to sing. I like to sing in long phrases and, you know, give it color and those kinds of things. So I do church, but to see people like you just navigate between your artistry, and then a BGV with a gospel artist, and then in the soulful arena, which, you know, is a world all unto itself. How do you, like, when do you know when to take your, which hat to switch on, and, you know, what feels better to you? And you actually did the Songs in a Strange Land studio recording that I actually purchased for PBS. So I was a long time supporter way before I even became a principal. But how do you navigate that space?
So I was trained choral and classical music in high school from Bishop Jeremiah Murphy at Largo High School.
Okay.
Now we sang the gospel all day long.
I'm telling my age. Hold on, I'm telling my age now because I remember when he used to sing with Dale Talbot.
Okay.
I'm telling my age right there. Right there.
You know what?
Listen. So I was brought up, you know, I even at First Baptist Church of Highland Park, which was my home church growing up.
Okay.
Ron Johnson would teach us the choral sound in order to transition it into gospel. And what people don't understand, choral sound is being able to round sounds and bring it to the front of your mouth, and all of that training that I got, it only helps me in the other arenas. And so I actually did that in high school, my home church. Got to college, I went to Morgan State University, go Bears, and I studied under Dr. Nathan Carter for 3.5 years. And I'm gonna just leave it there because there's just an essence that man had in music and arranging that's really where I honed in the skill. And I took voice lessons throughout college, and it just really helped me because gospel is screaming and shouting, but there's an appropriate way to do it. And I learned that from Jeremiah Murphy, from Nathan Carter, from Ron Johnson growing up, all of those skills that I was taught about the classical sound and pitch and control. It only helped me in gospel. And that's why I'm still able to sing 25 plus years later. I'm using the classical technique in gospel, which a lot of people in this newer generation are clueless about. And so they're dealing with nodules. They're dealing with a lot of hoarseness every time after they sing. Their voice is going from gig to gig. Gig, horse for a
Yeah.
week, next gig, horse for a week. And it's simply because they don't have the understanding of how to manipulate the voice and sound to carry over the
Very
classical
good.
tones and intonations into gospel music. There's no difference if you really want to, and I'm sure Roger can really give us a lesson, but there's no difference. You really are just manipulating the sound. If you
Mhm.
think about
Right.
different genres, a country artist they're only manipulating the sound of bluegrass and gospel. You know what I mean? It's just manipulation
Mm-hmm.
of tones
Right.
and sounds to get what we want. Yeah, there's a bark and yeah, there's a holler, but if you do it appropriately, you're not damaging your vocal folds. So I know for me,
Right.
it was simply the training that I received young, and I'm talking like 8, 9, 10 years old, all the way to currently, even working with Roger Giles and the artist choir. He
Yes.
taught us so much in those rehearsals about how to manipulate the sound to give him exactly what he wanted. So that's really
Mm-hmm.
my take on that when it comes to the difference between gospel singing artists, and it really just it mirrors across each and every platform for me.
Mhm.
The soulful, we'll do the whole first hour and a half of the concert is straight choral music,
Right.
Yeah.
with Darren's flair on it, and then we will lay the people out with some good gospel music.
Yes.
But it's
Right.
if you listen to our sound, it's the same sound, both
Yeah.
gospels.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of course,
Yeah.
it's a richer thing when it comes to the gospel music, and it's a more focused sound when we do choral music. But yeah, there's really no, for me. And I just want to preference that what the stuff I say tonight is coming from the years of knowledge of what's been poured into me.
Right.
Everybody's going to
Right.
have, when it comes to music and BGVs, it's subjective. Everyone has their way that they learned it. So I'm
Yeah.
just expressing
Mm-hmm.
the knowledge that was poured into me in hopes that I can help someone else.
Yeah.
All right, Roger.
Very good.
Yeah. I think to what Jane was saying, that I give two thumbs up to that. Yeah, it has a lot to do with like I said earlier, singing is mental. You know, you literally have to mentally what the song you're about to sing or the style you're about to sing, you have to really really understand and embody that before you actually do it. A lot of singers today, like Jane was saying, like they sing, they bark, they do it, which is cool. But if it's a song that you don't need, forte, you don't need all that. You need
Mm-hmm.
pianissimo. You need something soft. They
Right.
drop out because they haven't developed that part of their voice yet.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit. I studied under Dr. Joyce Garrett. She's my teacher and my mentor, and I've learned so much. I'm not gonna get emotional when I talk about this lady because it gets me. But I've learned so much from her, and we did 360 degrees of music. We were not allowed to sing gospel except for Fridays. Monday, Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday, and Thursday was all other styles of music. And it was during those years of my being in high school, Eastern High School. Shout out to Eastern Ramblers. It was in those years that I really, really developed and understood, and she really, really poured into us to know the difference between the different styles and what you have to bring to the table with each style. We would go from a gospel song to open up a concert and go to a piece, called Steal Away. We'll go to like I mean, it was just, constant, different
That
styles
sounds so
of music.
much fun. Like so much fun.
Yeah, and she would tell us, I don't know how this lady did it, but she would tell us like, this song does not require a lot of chest voice. I need you to use your concert voice or your head tone, and then we developed something called a mixed voice, which is your master, a mix between your head and your chest voice. All the time, you're not gonna
Mm-hmm.
be full chest. You ain't gonna have it when you get up in
Right.
the morning. That voice is going to be left on that pillow. So now
Yeah.
what you got? You
Mm-hmm.
have to figure out a way to still deliver. And one of the ways, of course, is like your mask singing or your mixed voice singing or your brassy type singing to still achieve those kind of things. So it's really, really, really important to understand and really embody each of those styles when it's time for you to do it.
I'm gonna tell you what was
Right.
difficult for me. I sang in my mix all the time at church and didn't know that that's what I was doing.
Okay.
So when I got in a choral setting, I really had to pay attention first
Mm-hmm.
because what I was doing it was either too big or it wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, God gave me ears, so I would just like really intently listen. That's why when I'm working, I'm so focused because I'm really trying to get it right. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to mess it up. So I have to be able to hear and to listen. And then being in different settings, because now I sing with it's called the Baltimore, I'm going to say it wrong, the Baltimore Community Concert Choir, which is about 200 voices of seasoned people. Like my great grandma and my grandma. I'm
All
one
right.
of the few younger
Mm-hmm.
people in the choir. And I mean, when I say they sing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all choral music. It
Yeah.
it's such a learning thing for me because number one, I don't read, so I have a way of listening and matching it to what I see on the paper, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then just to, like you say, embody that sound
Yeah.
that they give, it's so rich and it's so emotional, and it's, every word, every lyric you have to deliver in a meaningful way. So church singing was the mix, and here I gotta find it somewhere up in here, and then sometimes I have to go down
Mm-hmm.
here and kind of, you know
Right.
find that voice. But that's just really amazing to me. So
Yeah.
let's
Right.
let's keep the train moving. So we talked about those things. So we're gonna have a controversial conversation right here.
Okay.
Y'all ready? I'm ready. Look at
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
I'm
so
ready.
you so in the BGV world, there is such a thing I've heard of being territorial, or just the tenors being really kind of hard on each other. Altos, we are kind of reserved. We sit
Mm-hmm.
back and we just watch everything else that's happening until it's time for us to sing. Generally, that's how the altos work. Sopranos is a little different, and my sisters might get me for that. But see, y'all be a little catty sometimes. It just comes with the territory of being a soprano.
Mm-hmm.
But the tenors, I've seen some different things with the tenors. I've seen a little mix of both. Like I've been sitting in a rehearsal and two tenors have been made to stand up and sing something, and then when they're finished, a tenor in the back really like, oh, that's all you got? Like that kind of thing. I've seen that. I've seen that happen.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh,
Mm-mm-mm.
like this what we're doing? Okay.
That.
So like because you guys are vocal contractors, like how do you navigate, those kinds of things?
I I don't fool with that kind of spirit. I just don't. I don't. I remember there was an event that I was doing, and I was teaching the choir, and there was this one guy that we only had two tenors and about 99 altos and 46 sopranos and two tenors, and there was one guy sitting there on the front on the sideline, and so after I got through teaching the song and we were getting ready to do like a stage rehearsal with it, they came up and said, "Well, this is the dude that's going to lead the song." I was like, "No, no, he's not doing that." Because we had two tenors, and he had an opportunity to get up and show me what he had with helping us. But that's a whole set aside spirit that I just don't have time to deal with.
Yeah.
So I let him come up, but then afterwards I sure got in his grill. Like I was like, "So why you didn't help us? You saw we needed help. We had three tenors and I was teaching trying to be the fourth tenor. So how come you didn't help us?" And you could charge it to his young mind and probably not being trained to say, okay, maybe I do need to, there's an opportunity for me to look like I want to be a part of it, but not a part of it.
Right.
So I just don't, yeah, I this kind of stuff, I just, I blame it on lack of teaching. I blame it on immaturity. I blame it on like people not checking them. And when I say check them, like ask them, like, what is your aim? Why are you doing this? And don't be as I get older, I've learned that I'm not afraid of that anymore.
Hmm.
So, like when I was younger, I was like, "Oh, we're just not gonna fool with them," and they'll just go up, they'll learn and bump their head some other kind of way or some other type of event. But now, I'm like, "Hey, man, come here, let's talk, let's chat, But we just got to, I think, for that type of environment, you just got to create one where it's a team effort
Yeah.
Yes.
going for it. They
Yes.
can't there's no stars, no big one. I mean, hey, we down here with Kirk Franklin and Marvin Sapp and all the stars,
Right.
Tamala Mann, they all down here. But when we get in that little room, we everybody has to reduce to this and understand that we're supposed to work as a unit
Yeah.
Right.
and come together for a common purpose. And if you are outside of that purpose, like we've had some people that say, "Well, I don't know if I can do it because you got to call my manager and see what I'm doing." I'm like, not you, not right now. We're not doing that. We're not calling managers because
DVDs
everybody
have
we don't no we
managers.
don't have no managers right now. We coming down here. We
I
coming
don't know.
down. So I think the humility behind it has to be importantly stated so that people can understand that we're not going to reach this goal if everybody has to be the A list or the head honcho or the main person. So we got to create that environment for people to be able to function correctly.
Absolutely. I agree. Roderick?
I'll just say this. In terms of like BGVs and stuff with the tenor section or the tenors, getting a call is great, but getting a call back is even greater.
That part.
So
Right.
this is what I've learned.
Talk the good talk.
This is what I've learned. And you learn from who you under. Miss Garrett, she would get through if she notices that something the energy is not right, she'll smile, she'll get through
Mm-hmm.
that rehearsal. But she know at the conclusion of that rehearsal, you won't be back.
I'm calling you
You
back.
need you
Right.
need people that are flexible. You need flexible people
Right.
that understands things that may not go. And y'all know in this business, they can tell you to report at 1 o'clock, and sometimes you may not get started to 3. You
Absolutely.
can't have people on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they said they're going to start at 1 o'clock. But those kind of people, you don't need those kind of people. You need flexible people, people
Just
that
chill.
understand,
Flexibility.
Chill.
people
Chill.
that understand the art of it, and that are glad to be a part of it. Because people don't have to
Mm-hmm.
actually do anything. I mean, singers come a dime a dozen. I mean, really, they come a dime a dozen. Like, so it's like,
Right.
what makes you so different from everybody else? If everybody else
Right.
is being accommodating, why you can't be
Mm-hmm.
okay? Well, maybe this isn't for you, and you never build
Mm-hmm.
a certain sound or a certain structure around no one person anyway. Because if they decide they don't want to do it, then what you gonna do?
Right.
Those kind of people, you set a standard and you stick to it, and the people don't want to adhere to that, they weed themselves out. You don't have to really get rid of them; they won't come back.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I've heard a
Right.
saying that says be get ready and wait
Yeah,
is the BGB
Mm-hmm.
life.
yeah,
You be
Yeah.
where you're supposed to be and you just
Mm-hmm.
wait.
yeah.
How many times at Bobby Jones have we just
They
waited?
give you a call time, and you be back there eating snacks, eating Doritos, and eating all kind of stuff. I mean, coming off of your diet, you done ate about 4 bags of chip fooling with Dr. Jones, baby.
Or them wings from the
Mm-hmm.
hallway, right?
Right, right, right.
Jeremiah, what you got?
My take on that is I've had a few situations. Let me say this without trying to sound deep. I appreciate some of those situations because it
Talk.
has really built character in me. I'm gonna say that.
Mm-hmm.
It also teaches you when you're in a world full of creatives and everybody in their own mind is amazing and great. You run into green rooms and back rooms and backstages and sound checks where everybody's great and everybody's this, and it literally helps you to kind of find your identity, who you are, not being intimidated, not being swayed. Because I realize that when you're hired to do something, sometimes, as a BGV, you cannot control another person.
Right.
You can only control yourself. And so I've been in instances where I've literally had to put on seriously my Christian believer professional hat. Um, I will say that I haven't had too many situations like that. I'm grateful that most of the times when I sing, and if I'm singing with another tenor, it's with somebody that I sing with all of the time. You know what I mean? So I'm grateful that at this point, yep, it's James. You know what I'm saying? Or if I'm singing with Roderick or whoever, like you know, there's a great camaraderie, and there are no. I don't think there should be any cat fights. Period. There shouldn't be any cat fights from men. Period. Let me say that. In the tenor section, people saying, "Oh, that's all you got."
Say it again. Say it again.
Be cat fights in the tenor section. Let that happen
Yeah.
in the alto and soprano section.
What
Not the
is
alto.
that?
No, we don't. We
But
don't.
don't let it happen at all. But I don't, I'm just like Demarcus. Like I don't do the back and forth thing. If there's shade coming, I know how to sit there and be respectful. I know how to pay attention, learn my part, or be there for what I have to do, or be called for an 11 o'clock sound check, and we don't sound check until 3. I'm just, you just do what you have to do at
Yeah.
that point, and I think it just builds great character. So I have had a few of those incidents where I've sung with certain people where the other tenors is like, "Yo, it's a privilege to be here," and it was that sense of, it's
Mhm.
almost kind of it's like bullying a little bit, and so even though I was never one to start a fight, I didn't run from any either. So I'm not gonna be bullied. I'm just
Mhm.
saying, I'm just saying, I'm not gonna be bullied. And my dad is from Southeast DC, so he taught us like you don't, you don't run away from this crime. So even at 36 now, even for what I do, if I run into that situation now, I know that I can be hired to do something or to have an assignment to do something and know I'm going to run into that, and I budget for it. So when it happens, I'm like, okay, I already got it. I see what it is because I'm a gatherer. I'm a person. I love people.
You are a gatherer. Yes.
I'm social. I'm that kind of person. So I never try to bring any negative energy. If I feel negative energy in the room, I'm the one that's going to try to fix it. I'm not really like,
Mhm.
if something needs to be rebuked in the room, that's one thing. But before
Yes.
that happens, I'm the type of person, hey, you good? You all right? I try to
Yeah.
sense
What
like,
you
okay,
need.
maybe it's something deeper, but if it's not, and that's just who you are, and you just have this disposition, if I'm not the one in charge and I'm just the higher background help, I learn my part. I'm there from 7 to 9 or from 3 to 4 or whatever it is. And then I get my coin and I keep it moving and on to the next experience.
Right. Absolutely. That is the honest to God's truth.
Can I
Wow.
say this? I'm gonna say one more real
Sure.
quickly. We have
Uh-huh.
a code of a conduct that I use for and that I teach to everybody. It's called the CAP method. It's being careful, appropriate, and polite at all times.
Wow.
Be careful, appropriate, and polite at all times. It'll keep you getting called back. It'll keep you being in
Oh,
the room. You be careful with how you handle people. Be careful when you walk in the room. Look at what the room is doing. Don't come in there too much, too extra. Don't do all that. Be appropriate with your dress. Be appropriate with how you address other people. Be appropriate with decisions you decide to make. Don't bring no funky chicken in here, and it's just so much that you can be appropriate with, and be polite with your responses. Please, thank you. I apologize.
That's
I'm
super.
sorry. That's not what I meant. Things like that. So we keep that code of conduct going throughout our ministries.
Wow.
Yeah,
Careful, appropriate, and polite.
and polite.
that's good.
That's
And
good,
that's
Demarcus.
not just for you. Oh, that's not just. It's Demarcus. It's Demarcus. No, but
He's
that's
not going
not
to call you
just
Mark.
for.
Just FYI, he's not going to call you that.
Okay, that's not just for. And see, and that's something you teach, not just for the studio, but that'll help you in your whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
like
In
that.
really
all
will.
any situation, man, any situation, it'll help you. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So I'm gonna throw something in here that I didn't put on our list to talk about. All of you have traveled.
Who's
All
the
of you have traveled.
Mhm.
What what has worked for you to get the callbacks? Now let me put my own self out here on the sacrificial block. I had to learn how to travel with people. I'm an introvert, sometimes an extrovert, but when I've people too much, I have to retreat. The problem I have is coming back out is the problem that I have. I can be out if I'm on a month tour. I'm good for about 2 weeks. The sis gotta,
Mhm.
she gotta pull it back a little bit just to refresh. But then I like that space, so it's like I don't get back out until we get back to Reagan. It's like, all right, see y'all next year, like that kind of thing, and that would bother people. I would be deemed a bully, literally, and it's not that. It's just just it's a thing. So what I did learn on the last tour that I went on with Eric Waddell and his choir, it was only 2 weeks, which was just enough. But we all knew how to give each other that space. And then if I see you still sitting there, hey sis, come on, let's go get a truffle or something, or let's walk down here to a store, something to engage people. So I really learned how to do that, and that's over time. I plan to still get better at that. How do you guys navigate that? Because it seems I see myself and other females kind of deal with that, but I never really see guys, have trouble
Yeah.
with learning
Mm-mm.
how to travel, with other people. Like how does that work for you guys?
Well, for me, one of the things you have to be mindful of, um, that you have people that travel well. Let's just be honest. Just have people that travel well.
Okay.
Number two is you have to be in a place where you don't, the person that hired you as a BGV, don't make them feel like they have to always make sure that you good, you good, you good.
Mm-hmm.
Be
Mm-hmm.
at a place where you give them the greatest sense of ease to do their job, to be the front man,
Mm-hmm.
and you be the best BGV that you can be. You have to have people that are, like, you say you have some introverts, which is cool, you know what I'm saying? What's the difference in being an introvert and people just being downright not a people person and
Yes.
nosy?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yes.
a big difference.
Yeah.
An introvert,
Amen.
they're like, oh, they want to be by themselves, but you talk to them, hey, how you doing? A
Right.
nasty person is when they're off by themselves and you talking, how you doing? Well, I'm all right. Like, they don't want to be,
Right.
those kind of people,
They
they
want to
don't travel well,
engage.
and
Yeah.
so you got to always be at a place where you're making the job of the person who hired you easy, and not make them feel like I made a bad decision, or like you got to be on. Quick story. um, um, when I was in I think the 10th, 11th, we got a call to sing background for Aretha Franklin. We had to go to New York, and we got the call in the middle of rehearsal. And Miss Gary was like, "Well, the following students, please stand." People just stood up, and she said, "Okay, everybody else, you're dismissed." So we stayed, and we got that together. Long story short, fast forward to New York, got on the bus, got there. There
Jesus.
was a drummer that was, I guess, hitting the wrong chops. And Miss Rita Franklin, she was like, "No, that's not the way it goes." He was like, "Oh, well, that's how it was sent to me." She said, "Yeah, but that's not how I want it." She was trying to explain to him, and then he kept on doing it. He did it again. So finally, in that moment, she had two options: either she's gonna go back and forth with him, or she's gonna put an end to it. So finally, she said, "Okay, let me ask you a question. When you fly, do you like a window or an aisle seat?" He says, "Oh, I like the window because I like to see all that." She said, "Okay, perfect. We're going to break for lunch." When we came back, it was a new drummer behind the thing. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's not even worth the back and forth. Don't be the
Yeah.
person that's adding stress to the person who hired you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. So they have to be able to travel. And then I'm hoping I'm not taking too long, but
Mhm.
sometimes you may practice something one way as a BGV. The person who hired you may want to do something different on the spot. You have to be
Yes.
flexible
Yes.
and not show
Right.
your face. And then you become, if you're not an introvert, all of a sudden you become a nasty introvert, and you upset about it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have people. Okay, I'm going back to the drawing board. They have to be flexible. That's just the bottom line.
Flexible. Right. That's what's up.
I had to learn that. A I wasn't a tough learn. I learned quick
Yeah.
because
Mm-hmm.
I like for people. I'm aware if people are uncomfortable around me,
Yeah.
or if I've made, because I have a strong energy, and I had to sit with myself to understand that. So I'm always mindful of
Yeah.
what I do in a room, and if I feel like it's too strong, like if you see me and Joy talking when we're in session or doing something together, it's usually me checking myself. because I don't want in my heart, I want the energy to stay great. But I know me, I can be heavy. So, and there are other BGVs that I've encountered to me who I would call busy. Like you just always got to be doing something, and then when it's time to take the part, you like, oh, what's the part? If you were paying attention, but I don't say that. I used to say stuff like that. I don't say stuff like that anymore because that ain't my job. I'm a BGV, and but I'm aware of what I bring to a room.
Yeah.
I have to be, and
Right.
talent is more than just talent to be a professional BGV. There's a certain character and a dynamic that you have to bring. Be yourself, but also be aware of everybody that's around you and what you bring in the room.
Right.
Know when to dial that back. It's
Right.
okay. It's really okay. Anybody
Right.
jump in?
Yeah, I feel,
Right.
if you're talking about traveling, I think it's also about budgeting in your head. When you know you're going somewhere, if it's 2 weeks, if it's 3 weeks, if it's 4 weeks, you have to budget. I'm going to be away. You have to budget that. Yeah, I mean, like you said, you have to be flexible. I mean, especially when songs change at the last minute. Um, that happens a lot. Or a last minute rehearsal was planned. Any of those things, like you literally have to budget. Or let's talk about, if we're talking about traveling, you can't talk about traveling without talking about whoever, if it's a roommate situation. Because if it's a roommate situation, that's a whole new conversation. I know most of the times when I've traveled, sometimes depending on the artist will make sure everybody has their own room, which I enjoy the most.
That's
But
the best.
it's the best. It's the best when you get your own room and you can do room service and all of that. Like that's the best. But other than that,
Because
when you
he want
have,
to get what he want to eat, so everybody know
and
he.
listen, I have no problem with myself. I have no problem. Listen, no problem.
Okay,
But the thing is that there are times where you may have an awkward roommate.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to budget for that. And I've had that. I remember, and I won't be super, super transparent about what and where. But I remember one time traveling and the roommate, which was one of the band members, now I've never smoked a day in my life. Like never smoked,
Oh my
just
Lord.
other than just kind of, walking past me, maybe the woods, and I'm like, oh, somebody knows one of those woods real deep smoking,
You say
a
the
weed chip or
word.
something. I've never smoked. But I remember one time it was like 3 in the morning. I woke up and all I was smelling was weed in my room. And I turned the light on, and the band member, along with other people, were sitting smoking weed in the dark while I'm in the room sleep. So not only was it not just my roommate, it was two other people in the room while I'm asleep.
Bro. Mm-mm.
Wow.
While I'm asleep.
Jesus.
You know what I mean? So I,
Right.
I literally, I remember at that time I literally took all my stuff, went down to the lobby, and just sat up until it was the next day. I
Oh
was
my
prepped.
God.
And good thing is that the next day was like a rest day where you could wash your clothes, do all that stuff because I was smelling like a skunk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Nah.
And so I've had a couple of situations, and I just think you have to budget for those things when you're traveling. You have to know. What I realized too is even your friends that you sing with, you can be cool at an hour engagement, but if you on tour with them for 2 weeks, you start to find out things about each other. They irritate you and you irritate them. You know what I mean? So after a while,
Mm-hmm.
you get homesick. I've been out where I've literally been homesick.
Yeah.
And especially like being married, like I get homesick. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
One thing like when I was single, but it's just like, oh man, I'm so ready to go home. So, I remember
Mm-hmm.
one point I was gone and I was going through so much. I literally told my wife, we're gonna purchase a flight. I was about to literally mess with an artist. We're gonna purchase a flight and I'm coming home because I went through so much.
Wow.
And literally I said, no, I'm going to tough it out. And I'm so glad that I did because, like I said, all of this has been character building. So I think it's being flexible.
Mm-hmm.
You have to budget. It's the saying that they say. What's the saying? Prepare for the worst, but hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you gotta kind of, and I'm not trying to go against anybody's faith ring. You don't never hope for, you never, prepare for the worst. But what I mean is you have to
Mm-hmm.
budget for uncertainties. You have to budget for attitudes. You have to budget for an awkward roommate. You have to budget for changes in your schedule where you thought you were going to get sleep and you're not going to get sleep because they want you down to be at the venue. The itinerary said you were supposed to be at the venue tomorrow at 5 p.m. So you figure all day I'm going to sleep. And then you wake up in the morning and the road manager sends you 11 a.m. And you're like,
right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just think you just got to be flexible and you got to budget that. I have to be open to whatever presents itself.
Yeah. Roderick, I saw your hand.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I'm agreeing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Demarcus, James, anything to add? Or y'all good?
I just think I just want to be honest, since I know that there are people on here who are probably watching because of the title and they are aspiring BGVs or current BGVs. I just want to cancel a lot of the misconceptions you all have about the BGV work. You're not going to be on first class flights. You're not going to be in the
absolutely not.
You're not going to be in the freshest and hottest cars for car service.
Jesus.
Nobody's going to carry your bags. Nobody's doing for ladies. Nobody's doing your makeup and pressing your clothes. I just want to lay that out there because there's a huge cloud of misconception over what happens in the BGV world. And to be at 22 years in it, not that stuff that you're thinking or that they put on reality TV is not happening for you. It's happening for other people, the artists and people in their circle. It's not happening for you. And I want people to really understand that because I get one of the biggest questions I get in these type of platforms is, what is it like traveling? So I'm glad that you went there because I really want people to understand that it's not about you in that avenue. It's not about you, and you really have to understand and compartmentalize. Is that the right word? That and understand it for yourself so that you don't get hurt on the road. That's an easy way to get a ticket home because you have an attitude. You might be on a Spirit airline, baby. It's okay.
And the seats recline.
And but know your music.
And you got to pay for the wall.
I can't stand when I hear people going on and on about the accommodations. Sing the tenor line right now. You spend so much time posting on Instagram, posting on Facebook about your experience that you could have been studying your music in that moment. And I watch this stuff happen all the time, current, present day, pre-COVID.
Yeah,
I'm watching this stuff unfold. I'm watching people go on these long rants in their stories, and I'm like, I wonder what this gig is going to sound like. What this part is going to sound like. Because you ain't posted no sheet music. You ain't posted no you rehearsing. I don't know. I just want people to understand it's not this glamorous 5-star life. I think, honestly, in the 22 years, I may have seen it 2 or 3 times, and I'm not joking.
Wow.
I'm not joking.
Wow.
It's not going to be on Delta, baby. Let me put it that way and put it real frank. You about to be on Southwest a lot.
Right.
This artist got to move 15 to 20 people sometimes, and it's just... Listen, this is what we're going with. So I'm going to be honest here in the room and just say it ain't going to be good and glam for you.
Right.
When you become an artist, we're a whole different conversation.
What I try to tell people is that when you do tours or just even spot dates, but when you travel, it's not a vacation.
It's not.
It's work. You know, but people who go overseas and things like that for their first time, when they come back, I say, hey, how was it? They are exhausted. They have to
know that going into this kind of work. And that's why I want to be the honest voice, because so many people just see what we post or what people post. And they see them out posting their feet on the beach in the morning at 7 a.m. talking about look at what the Lord has done. But they didn't post the 12-hour rehearsal, and that's not an exaggeration.
It's not an exaggeration.
Gospel, R&B, country, all genres are having 12-hour rehearsals to prepare for a tour. And that's just one day.
Right.
So your rehearsal starts at 8 a.m. and you get out at 8 p.m. You then have to eat, learn your music, get in some sleep to be back up the next morning to do it all over again.
All I do is sleep
40 to 60-hour rehearsal hours in a week. And that's the part that they don't know, and that's the part that I love that we're discussing. Because when I went on those tours with Ernest Pugh, that was back when I was singing with Trinity. We were rehearsing for weeks before we left. For weeks, for weeks, and I'm talking with stems and without. Because when the stems go out, what you gonna do?
Right.
So
Right.
it's
We
all
have
about flexibility and preparation, but more of a mindset going into this and knowing that this ain't about you. If you go into the travel aspect of BGV life, knowing that it's not about you, you won't be upset so much.
right. You'll enjoy the journey.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, because me and
Right.
Jeremiah, if I could just be transparent and honest, we were traveling with a top Billboard selling artist, and we were roommates for a week. That's just this life, and I think a lot of people have a false misconception of what we do, the work that we do, and it kind of hurts me because I'm like, this is not what this life is about. If you tag and hashtag BGV life, I'd be like,
Right.
BGV, no, that's not our life.
That's not our life.
Not our
There's
life.
a question. There's a question here. It says, "Do y'all think BGV expectations are different with different genres?" And Demarcus, if you could start that question, because I know that we've all sung different genres, but I know you do it as
hmm
well. So, okay, if you can speak to that.
Yeah. I do. I think they are. There are different expectations. However, that the main expectation for you to deliver is always going to be the same. I just think that I don't know. For me, for the people that I have done BGVs for that are not gospel, the oohs, the ahs, the weight that you carry with the character that you are is very important because I've I have a couple of people that I know that go on tour with R&B artists, and they allow them to come on tour with them for them to be the spiritual insight
Wow.
for the
Okay.
tour.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so after they get through performing, they tell them, "You go back to the room. We're gonna go over and smoke weed, or we're gonna go over and get high and all this kind of stuff. But we know that's not for you."
Because they expect
And
you to be the
I've been in
living
that
savior.
situation, right, where they bought me movie tickets and said, "All right, the show is over. You go to the movies and go watch." I'm like, "Oh man, I want to go see. I want to go to the strip club. I want to go, man." But that showed that they respected what God's anointing on my life, and then
Right.
also that they knew the difference of what they could and couldn't do, but they had me there for a reason. And
Mhm.
if you're not a carrier of comfort and peace and of all of that when you go into different situations, then yeah, you may not make it over there. Or
Wow.
if you are quick to adapt to what they're doing, it'd be like, oh, you misrepresent the kingdom at that point.
Right. Because that diminishes
So,
the
you
respect.
know, it is. It is. So I believe the expectations are different. However, they have you there for a reason. They chose you out of all the cussing, fussing, drinking, smoking people they could pick. They picked you. And that's because either you can deliver and that they don't have to question your character and what you're going to do while you're with them.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Anyone else want to
Yeah.
speak to that before I move to my next question? James.
I was thinking. Well, I'm not gonna say that. Paul's question: do you all think the BGV expectations are different with different genres?
Yeah.
They are different. The expectations are, but your like my brother was saying, your job is not. If you're BGV for rock and roll, gospel, R&B, pop, your job is to be on time, to know your music, and to deliver, just like he said. So those things don't change. There are different parameters that will. Some artists, a lot of artists, Justin Timberlake, his last tour, his BGVs did a lot of dancing. That was
Mhm.
one of the requirements
Mhm.
in that role. And one of my friends was on the tour, and she's like, "I'm not a dancer, but I saw it, and she made it work." You know what I mean? So those expectations change, but your delivery is still in that same realm of show up, be on time, know your music, deliver. Those
Right.
that kind of doesn't change from genre to genre. I wish people would write more books about this, because cross genre, like I'm saying, BGV, you really need to be versatile. So even if the expectations change, you shouldn't. You still should show up on time. You
Right.
still
Yes.
should
hmm
rehearse. You still should know your music.
Right. Right. There is a Rachel James based in Atlanta. who contracts a lot for BET, TV1 events and things like that. She did write a book about BGV life.
I want to buy it.
Yeah, it's a BGV manual. What I'll do is once we're finished, because I don't have it close to me. Once we're finished, I'll post it, and then you guys can reach out to her. And it is a great, really kind of step by step. But if other people are out there, people keep telling me I should write one. I'm writing.
People are saying that now in the comments.
Yeah, it's
the Lord puts it in
yeah.
the comments. All right.
So, like, just do it if you see a need, and there's more that you can add to the narrative, because it's so many different perspectives, out here, so many different things that we all, experience that we can use to help someone else. I want to talk about countertenors, and I want to talk about it in a context not of what it is, but of what it is not, with a lot of people trying to be that, or people thinking that's what they are. It's to me, it's a lot of tenors because they may have range. They deem that as they are a true countertenor, when it may just be they just have range. Is that a thing?
Lum, 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 lum.
I'm from,
Crash cut. Crash cut.
Lord.
I'm from the old school that tenors stood in the tenor section, even if they sang
Okay.
parts.
We're
Yeah.
going there,
They
huh?
could still sing in the
Need you.
stand physically in the tenor section,
Uh-huh.
or even if they sang soprano in the gospel choir, but they still stood in the tenor section.
Sit by
That's
the
old
tennis.
school.
Sit
That's
by the
me.
tennis.
That's what I was indoctrinated with.
It
Les, you
is.
in deep water. You in deep
I,
water.
It is.
okay, I can swim out here, but it just
Frozen.
it turns some people into a thing. Like, everything is a squall and a holler, and I mean, can you just sing tenor? Like, is that too much to ask? Like, is it just what is y'all? What is that?
So, countertenor is a thing, but why people are doing it in the church is kind of. And I'm tiptoeing right now because we are in deep water, guys. Like, out.
The water is troubled.
Listen,
Deep
and we
black.
are. So I just don't think if it's needed in choral music, if you're singing with the choir and you are the highest height range wise, that's what a countertenor is, the highest male voice. Then I think it's necessary. In gospel, though, I mean, we're singing 3-part harmony. So if there's a female that can do the height, I mean, if the female wasn't available and you can do it, then by all means, come on, let's go.
Right.
Check your back. But I don't see it being a necessity. I don't see it being a necessity, and for what we do in our realm. I could be wrong. Like I said, this conversation is subjective. This is James Murphy's point of view.
I am a proud second tenor.
And you know what?
Listen, I'm actually a first, but I'm proud second.
I'm a proud second tenor.
Yeah,
I'm a baritone. And
I know. I sing, second tenor too.
First tenor.
No, I sing second tenor. I will say this. There are. Okay, how can I put this? I'll say this: if you are in
be careful.
alto with
Take your time.
range, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are a soprano.
Thank you. Please keep telling people that I'm not a
Here's the
soprano.
thing. And here's the thing: an alto with range could visit in the soprano section, but they can't live there.
We don't live there.
What
No.
I mean by that is a true
Don't defend
soprano.
Leslie like that.
A true soprano can sing soprano a whole concert.
Yes.
A true
Yes.
soprano. And for the tenor, you have some people that tenors that do have range that can help out other sections. Like can have range to help out the altos. Drink less, or they can have um, range to sing, maybe soprano. But in gospel, the sopranos and altos, they pretty much got it covered. You know what I'm saying? And I'm from the school with you. If you are a tenor that can, there are some tenors that actually have the range to be up there, but still sitting in the tenor section and sing your alto part or your soprano part or however you want to say it. But at the true essence of a choir director, they would want to have a female voice to live in the soprano and sing soprano, or have a female voice to sing, because the timbres are different and the weight of the voice is different and the texture is different. Although you can hit the note, but the texture may be different.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And whereas you may have the range, you may be doing all that pulling, but an alto can sing with ease and they can just stand there and sing it.
Right.
If you're doing a session in the studio.
Now, are we talking about like? Okay, and I'm gonna dig deeper. Are we talking about like your real voices that high, or are you singing falsetto?
Well, I'm assuming that Leslie talking about like your full voice. Your because you have some.
Okay, so your full voice, you're a real.
I'm saying that's what I'm saying. Some tenors in their full chest voice can have the range and sing. They make it sing a song,
get up there,
or sing a line, but a whole concept, no, they'll gas out. And anybody listening, I'm not shading nobody. No, please hear me. I'm not shading anyone that has range that can sing on that trip. I'm not shading you. I'm just not. But what I'm just saying is,
we're not.
There is a section for sopranos, female soprano, and they just sing. When I was in high school, my first year in Eastern, I sang soprano. I literally did. My voice hadn't changed yet. And Miss Garrett said, "Okay, wonderful. I need you to sing over here in the alto." She would let me sing soprano. I need you to sing the alto section. And then she said, "You know what? Start singing tenor," because she knew at some point my voice was going to change. So she tried to get me to develop the art of singing tenor, because there's like 90 altos and 90 sopranos. We don't need the 91st one being soprano. You know what I mean? So that's just,
and there are people out there that can do it and do it well. Thomas Allen, Kenneth Austin.
Oh,
my boy Thomas
that did it for years. Because
that Ricky Dillard record.
And Roderick, I want to make sure I'm saying the technical piece of this correctly. It really is a manipulation of the voice, correct? To be able to have the height. Some people actually have it, but it really is kind of like manipulation. And so I think unless you've trained and studied and someone has said you are a countertenor, you are just a tenor with range.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to get to.
I have a question. Isn't gospel high enough? Listen, let me tell you something.
Oh my gosh! And don't we modulate? And don't we keep modulating? We keep modulating.
Yes, we all right.
First of all, we ain't singing anymore. The tenors are singing alto, so
that's because y'all write songs. That's why.
Yeah,
and that's why most I'm
inverting and modulating.
Yeah, I'll speak from my Purpose experience.
My God.
Most of the altos in the Purpose alto section can sing soprano. We're not true sopranos, but we have range where if it's needed, we can sing that. And also the music that is written for us, to me, is in a soprano kind of range. So that's what makes it easy for us to do it, because we have range. And the sopranos are true sopranos. They can sing soprano the entire record and it never waver, because they're true sopranos. So I can
true soprano.
True sopranos. So for everybody that's out there telling me, Leslie, you're a soprano, I'm not. I am fully aware that I live, breathe, and be in the alto world. I know it. I understand it.
But let's be clear, Leslie does visit the soprano section.
I visit, but I return home.
I have witnessed Leslie touring there. She's vacationing.
On her bags.
She's there She packed her bag with no roommate.
Leslie, like Maddie Mouse Clark said in that movie, it's been a long time since I heard a lazy soprano. Come on.
There you go. No.
The movie was too good.
Okay, so we've been here.
Right.
We've been here an hour and 19 minutes.
Are we
So
moving the boat out of this troubled water now?
yeah, we can go out.
Woo!
Y'all have done what?
There it is.
Wait a minute. So there's a question. So are the females that sing tenor true tenors or lazy alto?
Well, I'll say this.
We gonna give you the real answer.
I'll say this.
We going deep in this water.
That's
We going
old
deeper.
school. That's old school.
There are honestly there are maybe like two people that I know personally that are females, and they are tenors without a shadow of a doubt. One is I sing with her, Ministers of Music, Bonita V. White. She is
Okay.
a tenor, hands down. And
Wow.
this other young lady who was part of the Eastern Choir, her name is Gospel. Her name is Angie James. That's the only tenor Miss Garrett allowed to sing, female that Miss Garrett allowed to sing tenor. Most other, she puts them in the second alto section. There
Okay.
are some true female tenors because the higher they go up, you can hear it. It starts to get kind of, it's not pure enough.
Okay.
It's the weight of a tenor,
Right.
and that's just, how it is, So in my personal opinion, I think that there are some true female tenors, but not many. Some of them are, want to be lazy and don't want to sing alto, but there are some true female tenors.
Yo,
Block
Yeah, and we're gonna
Charles Butler.
Charles Butler's comments, please.
I just want to say something that is Charles Butler. And there are some studies that as you get older, your vocal range kind of goes down, and you start singing, like especially if you don't continue to sing and you let it rest for just a little bit. But there are some scientific studies that support doing women becoming, I call them tenorettes. That's just what we call them out here, tenorettes. They can sing comfortably tenor lines, but they have to be fortified by a male figure. We've used female tenorettes in some of the projects that we've done, but they have to be fortified by some men because those low ranges need a little bit darker coloring, and sometimes ladies can't deliver that.
Yeah.
okay.
It's founded.
So, yeah, it does.
I got a
And
name
can we
for
go
y'all.
ahead and just talk about, can we put basses back in the choir?
No.
Baritone basses?
No.
Can we
But you know what?
No.
No,
No.
But you know what?
But no.
I'm teaching it.
You know what? The funny thing about basses and baritones see, really, as we relate to gospel, really is SAT. But you have some men, some
Right.
groups that really have a bass voice. You have to write authentic bass parts, not octave soprano parts,
Right.
but authentic bass.
No, not that.
But the bass part.
Hey, maybe octave alto.
Huh?
Because Milton Brunson, if you listen to his music, that's what he used to do.
Yeah.
Octave alto?
Like back in the day,
Yeah, but
they used to do the octave alto note,
yeah,
Wow.
and that used to be equivalent to the bass line of the song.
Yeah, if you write,
Wow.
and really the bass line is something that the bass guitar or they're playing already just to enhance that. So they
Okay.
have to marry, together. You have to have somebody who really understands bass progressions to write true, authentic bass parts. You know what I mean?
Wow. That
Just-
octave
So
alto.
I like
Leslie,
Leslie, listen to
she sings lower than me.
I'm sorry, dude.
Who?
Jessica Reedy.
Oh, she's
Yeah.
She's a tenor.
Yeah.
And somebody
Oh,
said,
man.
I think Blanche might.
She almost a bass.
Somebody did
But
mention.
no.
But I see Crystal Durant. You had her last
She's
week.
down here.
Yeah.
She's down here for work now. She's down here for work now.
When I was younger, Wasn't she singing tenor?
Keisha is the switch between alto and tenor.
I used to love her
Wherever
voice
it needs
when I
to
was
be
younger.
thickened up, especially if the tenor section needs to be thickened up, Jonathan will put Keisha over there, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah, she was like one of my favorite female lower register voices, and I say that respectfully
Wow.
because she just, and she was one of the first that I saw. Only knowing Baltimore when I got to Morgan, and
Right.
going to the musicals at First Apostolic and just seeing and knowing and gravitating to that sound that she released. Ooh, Keisha was amazing.
Yeah, she still is after her.
Still is, still is.
She still got it. Demarcus, what were you saying? I got lost on what you were saying.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I was just gonna make a reference to Milton Brunson's "Jesus is a Rock in a Weary Land." If you listen to that, there's
Yeah,
a bass line on there, and it's octave alto.
Wow. Okay.
see,
He's
Okay.
a
now you're
rock
giving me homework
of
today.
shelter. He's a rock, and it's still the bass line that the musicians are playing too.
You
So
right.
it kind of
I can hear it. Yeah.
connects to what you were saying. Uh
Wow.
huh. Yeah.
Okay, we learned something today, didn't we? All right.
Lord.
All right. So as we wrap up,
Hey, I'll be looking.
you as we wrap up, I was going to talk
Go
about
ahead.
like business practices and things like that. Do you guys prefer contracts? I know we're all familiar with work for hires, and I'm a little leery if I walk in the studio and I don't see one, or if I don't get one, especially if something comes out. Just a just because my business hat is turned to that. So I don't always like question it. I don't always question it because I usually work with people I trust. But if it's someone new that I've never worked with before, like I literally have my own work for hire form and my own W-4 that I can
Yeah.
fill out and pass along to you.
Yeah.
Do you guys work?
Right.
Do you work like that? Are there settings where you used to work like that? I think we all have had
Hmm.
settings where that's been a thing.
Yeah. You go ahead,
Yeah.
James. I'm sorry.
No, go.
I think if you should have that. It minimizes amnesia, and what I mean by that is
It does.
people get to the point where, oh well, I thought you said, or I thought y'all was going to do, take all of the thought out, make our lives easier, put it in black and white, and it's not, and
Hmm.
if you, a red flag for me is if I'm doing something like a studio or studio work or something like that. I'm doing, and I mentioned, well, can you put that in writing, and then there's some hesitation. That's a red flag for me. It really is. You know, not trying to be deep in scripture. In business, be men. You're not bishop, nothing. You're not prophet is nothing. You with your name on your birth certificate when you put that on that
Hmm.
agreement. And I just think it just makes everything it takes all the guesswork out of what is required and what is expected. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's important to have a lot of paperwork. I have a folder with about 6 different forms um,
Mhm.
that I have created myself
Yep.
just to be able to garner intellectual properties. And that's something that I think people that want to be VGV need to look up
Yes.
because I know I can't speak for others, but I know me and Jeremiah get checks every 3 months because
I
of
ask,
we've
I
done
get one
for
twice a
artists.
year.
It's very important, and those checks come in handy, especially
Yeah.
we ain't none of us been on a stage in 4 months, but that check come every three.
Right.
Woo!
Right.
I think it's important to know about this. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't know. They don't know when you work with a major label that you are entitled to that. They don't know. And when you work with your
Hmm.
friends, you really should get the same respect. Honestly, if you're trying to go up to be a voting member of the Grammys, you have to prove credits.
Yes.
To prove
Yes.
credits. And I see Ebony saying it in the comments.
Hmm.
If
Yes.
you let someone sabotage you and you've done all this studio work, you've done the live session, you've done the overdubs, yeah,
Yeah.
you got paid, but make sure you get your credit. Make
Yes.
sure your
Yes.
name is going to be listed, and that comes with
Hmm.
paperwork because nobody has to do it just because you were there.
That's one of the things that I advocate for.
Right.
The year that I became a voting member of the Grammys, thanks to Tasha Cobb's Grace record, I will always honor that because that's having a residual effect in my life even to this day.
Hmm.
It's like I started looking at allmusic.com to see
Mhm.
what
What
was
your name
attached
is
to my
listed.
name And then I started looking at other artists that I have sang and recorded for, and my name's not there. So at that point, it's a matter of those I know who have, let's say, listed it in liner notes, but maybe the registration electronically didn't happen. So I have to go get those CDs,
Mhm.
make sure I have those liner notes because that proves my name there, that I received credit for that. But also moving forward, I think BGVs should not be afraid to have the conversation, to
Absolutely.
ask, am
Absolutely.
I being
Right.
listed as a contributing BGV with my name, and is it being registered, especially electronically? Now, that's something that helps you get the benefits
Hmm.
that are
Mhm.
entitled to you. So your name is not, or your name is not on an unclaimed royalties list, or you just never get the money
Mhm.
that the three of us may see from, different things. So there's ways when you're a professional BGV, these are the things that you need to
Mhm.
learn about your craft so you don't miss out on anything that you are entitled to.
Right.
It's so important. I didn't know about unclaimed royalties until Nicole Neely, who is like my cousin, but she's a string, professional down in Nashville rocking it out.
A
She
beast.
said, I saw your name. And I'm like, huh? And all I had to do was contact them, send them my ID, verify they had my old address, so I had to update all that information, and now I see residual effects. And then on the conversation with Ted Wynn, um,
Sound exchange.
sound exchange.
Yeah.
So I'm in that process of going through sound exchange, which for BGVs it takes a little bit longer because they have to research a little
Mhm.
deeper to find you and to make sure that that's legit. But that's another stream of income. So to my professional BGVs, if you aren't already doing it, get it, learn it, pick up a book, read it.
Mhm.
Everything you need to know about the music business is a great book, but there are also several other books out there. And talk to people who
Mhm.
do this, who receive this income, so you can get the information. And don't be afraid to talk to these whoever hires you about receiving your credit. That's your work. That's your
Word.
intellectual property being added to a project that if that project makes
Right.
millions, you
You
deserve
could
your
make some of the millions. Point
I
blank period.
Mhm.
I can just be honest and transparent. I've been working with Jeff Major since I was 22 years old, and I've recorded about 6 albums with him. And before I got into the artist field and started working with people like Charles Butler and singing more, I didn't know about the intellectual properties. So
Mhm.
I had checks sitting in offices
Wow.
literally for years.
Wow.
I didn't get that money until I was about 30, about 7 years ago, when I really learned about ASCAP and BMI and how it works. And now I'm getting them regularly, but that money was sitting in hold. Somebody told me I was on a list, and I did the same thing, sent in all the documentation, but those are intellectual properties because Jeff Majors listed me as the lead vocalist in the BGV. And so because money was made off of the project, but this honestly, this is a whole live stream in itself
Right.
about the paperwork, intellectual properties, royalties that needs to
Yes.
be had, because like somebody just put in the comments, people are so concerned about what it looks like on social media, they don't even know the money that they're missing out on. And it's
Right.
good money.
Mhm.
It's good money.
You know what? People don't realize literally that, and Charles says something. He said some of the some of the new age BGVs are more concerned with how it looks on social media, because that only lasts for a while. That's the trend, versus actually making sure that you're listed, checking those things, because when that SAG after chat comes in that big envelope, I mean, my wife knows that envelope when it comes. She's screaming up the
Big
steps.
envelope. It's
Yeah,
great.
that big
Yes.
envelope comes, and
We
and
like commas.
yeah, recently,
We like
Right.
I mean,
commas.
yeah, sound exchange. Yeah, I mean, especially in this pandemic, it's really good for creatives to really do your homework, and that's what I've been
Mhm.
doing to really get educated. Because I can be honest and say that in the beginning, I didn't know. Yeah, I was posting pictures and stuff, and I wasn't necessarily trying to post pictures and be like, "Oh, look who I'm singing with." I did it because it was my social media, but I was ignorant to the business, and I'm still learning. But it's nothing like knowing that you have money sitting somewhere, you know. And
Mhm.
I think, and going back to your initial question, Les, the contract thing is so important in knowing the business and learning what points are, learning what splits are. If you come into the
Mhm.
studio and they just want you to do background, but if they want you to do some arranging,
That's a different check.
a different check, you know. And it's like, okay, are we going through the
Mhm.
union? What do we, you know what I mean? All of those things, like it's a whole different
Love a
conversation.
union.
What do you say?
He said we
We
love
love a
the
union.
Love a union check.
union.
So, yeah, you know,
Mhm.
percentages, all those things, they matter, and I'm learning as well. You know, not to, you know, and everything, you know, you learn, you know, and I think we all have stories of where you were a little ignorant, and it's like, okay, cool, I've learned a lesson for the next time, you know, so that you just grow each time. But this is great conversation tonight. This is
Yeah.
give your
And
contract.
can I say one? Can I add one more thing to this?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of times where people are, they may reach out to you and they may not have all the money or have all of those business aspects of their gig. They just want you to come and sing, or they want to do that. So what I tell people all the time, and I'm the biggest, like the biggest supporter of my brother. But what he does is he'll do a free concert. He will. But you have to let him choose and pick what he's going to donate and what is going to be free,
Mhm.
versus you trying to say, well, you need to come do it over here because da 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 da. You can't let those type of people bully you into making a decision to do something. But on the other side of it, on the flip side, on the management side of it, I make sure it's a good opportunity for him. So like I
Right.
remember the first time he got the call to come to the Potter's house. They didn't really have no money at that time, because and mine was not really the artist that he is now. So, we were like, okay, are y'all, what's going to happen? They were like, no, we want him to come and be able to, just bless the church with his ministry. We would have been a fool to say, we need $5,000,
Yeah. Because that's where I first heard
because
you.
at
That's
that
where I
point in
first heard
time,
you.
uh, right, you have to, consider what they are going to be able to do for your ministry on the other side of it,
Right.
not just
Yeah.
with what you want to do right there. So I think making wise choices on not just all of your business decisions, but be open to doing some free stuff. Be
Yeah.
open to not just saying I only come unless you charge. I mean,
Right.
unless I charge.
Yeah.
So just be open to that.
Yeah.
It's
James.
important for people to know the difference. You have to use your discernment.
Hmm.
If a major label is calling
Right.
you to do studio work, please go union on them because they have money. They have money. But
Hmm.
if it's your friends, I want you to know, like, don't do that to your friends because union rates are expensive. But I want you to know if a major label
Right.
contacts you for studio work, a live session, know that that's money. You just gotta know the difference, and that's why it's important to have a mentor mentee relationship, even in the
Right.
BGV world. If somebody
Hmm.
needs help, reach out to me. I will sit and chat. We can get coffee.
I need
I'm
help.
not that person that people make me out to
I
be.
need help.
I really will, Jeremiah.
I need help.
I really will help. I really will
I
offer the
need I need
advice.
your
I
phone
don't know
number.
everything. I don't know everything, but I'll tell you what I've learned
Yeah.
in hopes that you don't make the same mistakes. And
Hmm.
another thing, people don't know, but every stack you do in the studio is a different price range. First stack is here. Second stack costs this. Third stack, you
Hmm.
owe me this much. Four, oh, you want to do six stacks of my voice. This is how much and you leave there knowing how much your check will be in 2 weeks. And
Right.
people don't know that because
Yeah.
they're doing favors for friends, which are fine if they're your friend. But
Hmm.
Right.
somebody that called
Right.
you for a gig ain't your friend. That's business. That's work. And you
Yeah.
gotta know the difference.
Right.
Yeah.
Let
And
me
also
ask
your state laws govern that as well.
Mhm.
Because not every state
Hmm.
is a union state. Maryland actually is an at-will state
That
when
will.
it comes to contractual things. So we can work union or
Hmm.
non-union. But there are places that I know, like
Yeah.
LA,
You can only be
California,
union.
New York. I'm not sure about Texas, but Nashville, I believe, I like those are union states. So if you're not a part of the
Yeah.
union, but somebody still wants to hire you, you kind of just get what they pay you, you know, that sort of thing. But that is really, really, it's more than just your voice,
Yeah.
is what I'm really getting to. If you want
Right.
to be a professional
Hmm.
BGV, it's more than just your voice. It helps you, it would serve you well
Voice. Right.
to know the business,
Hmm.
not just know how to sing, but know how
Right.
to make it lucrative and financially beneficial for you as well. Because there are people out here making bank just being a BGV. But
Hmm.
if you just coasting
Yeah.
through, if you coasted through just, doing it for the fun of it, but you're missing that wealth piece
Hmm.
that goes along with that,
Hmm.
that is
Right.
extremely important.
Hey,
Okay,
Les,
Hmm.
can I add one thing? I'm sorry, anybody. I'm sorry. I want to add to something really important that Demarcus said. In terms of sometimes it's okay to do something for free. Sometimes the opportunity makes more sense than the money because the money that check will come and
Hmm.
go. All payment is not cash.
yep,
Right.
You know what I mean? A lot of
Hmm.
opportunities I've gotten are because I was on stage with somebody else and another artist was like, "Oh yeah, you sang with so and so," and it was like, "Wow!" And not
yep,
knowing that so and so that I sang with that was promo. And it
right,
was like,
Right.
wow, this big opportunity really just came from this opportunity. So those opportunities come, and sometimes it's like, you know what, it makes sense. Just like you said, I remember I sang at a notable church here in DC for their pastor's anniversary, and they said we just want to bring you in. We want you to do one song before the guest preacher preaches, and it's a notable church. And they said, but we're not really offering any money, but I know the church brings people in. I said, you know what, I'm good with it. I came in,
Hmm.
sang with my track, and made a great relationship with
Yeah.
that church. And that was
Hmm.
bigger than,
Hmm.
$500 that would have been long gone. This,
right,
Right.
now it's a relationship.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Leslie, I mentioned that at your
Right.
conference. I don't know if you remember. Every gig that I've had since 18 years old, and I'm going all the way back to Kenny Hillier and Fresh Anointing to present day, was
wow,
from how I worked on a previous gig.
One
wow,
thing
I have
always leads to the next
I've
thing.
only auditioned for one thing in my life. I'm very open and honest about this. I've only auditioned for one thing in my life, and that was First Baptist Church of Glen Arden's Christmas play. And I
wow,
went into the audition nervous as jacks. I was texting people. I was like, I ain't never auditioned. And people found, when I said that on Facebook, people were floored because they were like, you do all this work and you never auditioned. No, I showed up on time. I knew my part and I delivered. And
right,
every time that got me another opportunity,
wow,
paid or not.
Amen.
right. I'm right. I'm gonna post these little tidbits later. But this is good stuff. So we're gonna wrap up, guys. Thank you so much. I'm trying to figure out what to do for next week. Like, I want to talk about something different next week, but it's going to be surrounding BGVs because I think there's just so much out there to be learned. Yeah, earlier today, Steve McCoy made a post concerning mentors, and there's a thing I live by mentors. You shouldn't seek after mentors. Mentors should seek you out. And I say that, and I'm putting it here because James, you talked about helping people earlier. It's when you are a mentor and you like to share your wisdom, you like to know that people are listening
Yeah.
and applying.
Hmm.
It's important.
And if the mentor does not feel you are willing to listen and to apply, it's a waste of time.
Waste of time. It's a waste of time.
It's a complete waste of time. And I'm a little older, so I don't like to waste
Hmm.
my time. So
Wasting time.
while I am a mentor, I like to seek out my mentees because there are a lot of people who want to glean and want to learn, but are you really going to do what I say? Because you have to trust me. You have to
Hmm.
trust that what I'm saying has been tried and tested and proven, and I need you to do it.
Yeah.
I have a small community that I'm working with now, and they're blossoming at their own pace, in their own lane, the way they want to do it. Because when I share with them, they learn and they apply. They listen and they apply. A lot of people, and I don't
Right.
want to say just millennials, because there are some adults who just don't listen. They don't listen. They don't want to listen, and that's a character thing inside. That's for another space. But they need to listen and apply what you're saying. So
Cakes and
those who
pies.
are
Cakes and
looking,
pies.
those are who are looking for mentors, I would recommend that you just do what you're doing. If there is something that a mentor or somebody who has the capacity to be a mentor, because just because somebody's an artist and they're a great songwriter and they have all this acclaim doesn't mean they have the social capacity to really pour into somebody or to give to somebody. Everybody
Right.
doesn't have that. You have to be a compassionate and a giver. You have to be that,
Yeah.
do that. But just keep doing what you're doing. Those of us who are mentors or who want to mentor, we will see you. And if we see you, sometimes it's
Mhm.
just a casual conversation. Like, hey, you did really good tonight.
Right.
This was good. This was good. You kind of share on a low and then you sit back and you watch. This is what I do. I sit back and I watch to see how they move the next time or see how they interact with other
Mhm.
people. And if you're not a listener, then
Right.
I'll wish you well and pray that somebody can get through to you. But if you're really serious about being mentored, James Murphy has offered, himself to those, and I'm sure James sees people all the time doing things, and you either take interest or you don't. It's best to have a mentor who really has an interest in you. And somebody said earlier, it's a very sensitive, I think
Mhm.
Jeremiah, you said that it's a very sensitive relationship because it's reciprocal on both sides. I
Yeah.
learn from my
Right.
mentees just like they learn from me. And when I don't hold on to people, I kind of do what I can with them, and I'm pushing you to wherever it is you're supposed to go next. So I just wanted to say that about the whole mentoring thing. If you want to seek out a mentor, that's fine. Have at it. Hopefully they have the time to pour into you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully they have the interest in pouring into you. But to me, true mentors just kind of observe and they see the talent and they see the character and they see if it's
Mhm.
worth their time,
Yeah.
because we cannot waste time. Because if I waste time with you, there are three other people over here who wanted it that missed it because I spent time with somebody who
Right.
doesn't really listen. So I'm off my soapbox with that. Is there anything that each of you guys want to add before we close tonight?
Well, did is there a point like last final like advice words or stuff?
Yes,
This what this part is?
yes.
Okay. Um,
I
um
do this, Roger.
no, I just want to make sure I'm in line. I have a few points. My advice to any upcoming background vocalists, BGVs, inspiring to be professional, all of that. My first thing I had to write it down, so I would forget. The first thing is being on time. On time really means before time. If call time is
Yes,
10, then you arrive at 9:45.
yes,
You have to be at the downbeat of 10 o'clock is when it starts. If you arrive on time, you're supposed to do on time. Then as the day goes, if they're late, then if you have another appointment, then you can go, move on to the next thing. But
yeah,
you're on time, and that means making lobby call times and making your flights and making your, whatever those things are, because that's very very important. Number two is the dress code. How do you dress as a background singer? What do you look like standing behind the
Mm.
artist? You know, um,
Mhm.
where you shouldn't have on anything distracting that will distract from the main artist, i.e., hair, jewelry. If you're supposed to be in the background, nothing should take the attention off Patti LaBelle if you're supposed to be a background singer. Not look at her hair, or look at anything that's distracting. Be mindful of that. Have your clothes in a garment bag as a background singer. Don't walk through the halls and places with your clothes in your arm
right.
in a plastic bag and you not have a garment bag. You know
Bobby Jones
Oh my
gospel, y'all.
gosh.
that's
Bobby
that's
Jones
that's
gospel. We saw a lot of it.
That's very, very important because you have to make sure that you're carrying yourself as a correct
Look at the shirt.
BGV. The other thing is, my last thing is know your music before. You know what, James? Know your music before the rehearsal or and the gig. I look at it this way:
Right.
practice is when you're by yourself. Rehearsal is when you're with everyone else.
That's
Don't
good.
practice in, and then when you come to rehearse, knowing your music, because that's why you're there.
Yes.
Those are, of course, and being flexible. So those are my final points.
I had an experience our first time singing behind Donald Lawrence. Um, that it was fashionable to wear for ladies to wear the tinted glasses. They were nice big lenses, wire frames. They were like usually rose or purple, some color like or blue, and they had these like uh, rhinestone hearts and stuff on them. And he told us to remove. Well, I didn't have one, but he told the group, that those were a distraction. And I remember one young lady really kind of getting beside herself because that was part of her outfit. She
Hmm.
just wanted to, and he was like, no. And that was like one of the first lessons to being polished. I remember we did Bobby Jones with Donald Lawrence one particular time, and I reached out to Latrice Pace and I said, "Hey, what's the look? What's the feel?" Because they told us black, but tell me what's the feel. She told me she was like big chunky jewelry. He liked that, situation over really neat, polished black, big chunky jewelry, and it just gives you a great look. I'm fortunate that with Jonathan Nelson and Purpose, we've always been complimented on how polished our presentation was, especially for show. Like Dr. Bobby Jones would say, "Oh, I just love the way y'all come. Y'all just look so good. Don't they look so good?" It was a little creepy, but I mean, it was just a look. The whole a look. Like Jonathan, when we got ready for recordings, used to make us bring our outfits to rehearsals, like, because I need to see what y'all putting on. You know, we
Hmm.
did Gospel Heritage. We were a week in recording in Atlanta. 9 o'clock lobby call, have those faces beat. What? But we did it, and it left an impression. So those things are extremely important. Thank
Yes.
you, Roger.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Or y'all talked out?
Yes, hi,
I
hello.
just want to tell everybody. Oh wow, this microphone.
This pop-up
I
microphone
just want to
says,
tell everybody to right. I just want to tell everybody to be encouraged. Definitely consider the spiritual aspect of it. To be faithful over the few things to make you rule over many, and being faithful over another man's works will allow you many opportunities when it's your time. So you definitely have to make sure you um, um, stay encouraged, stay within the boundaries of helping others to accomplish their goals and their missions. And then when it's your time, it's going to happen very big for you.
thank you so much, James or Jeremiah. James, you had the microphone.
I put it down. I think it's
Come on,
important
microphone.
to I think it's important if serving is below you, then this industry
It's not for you.
is if serving is above
Not
you,
for
I'm
you.
sorry, this industry is already beneath you. It's so important to understand the role of a background artist. The ladies last week were talking about knowing your place, knowing your role as a BGV. It's so important to understand the concept. I look at it like a plate. The BGVs are the plate, the support. The artist is the meat, is the steak and potatoes that go on the plate, but you're the support. The steak and potatoes are great on their own. You can eat them out of a paper towel if you're ghetto, but the support is the plate, and it's
Talk,
so important
James.
to understand that from our concept and the work that we do. You gotta know how to serve. You gotta know how to just be flexible.
Right.
It ain't always going to be what's on the itinerary. We talked about that earlier. And it's just, that's one of the main things I would like to say. And just like
Mm-hmm.
Roger said, being on time. When I was a freshman in college, we had this little course we had to take called freshman orientation. Miss Bloom, rest in peace, was my instructor for that. And she taught us on the first day, she said, to be on time is to be early. Wait.
To be early is to be on time.
Early is to be on time. To be on
on
time
time.
is to be late. Late is unacceptable.
It's late,
Yes.
right.
Literally stuck with me from August 26, 2001 to today. I
Yes.
say it every time.
Yeah.
Y'all think it's cute to miss flights. Do you know how much money a record label is paying for a flight and you missed it and now they have to rebook you? Count it as your last gig. You know what I mean? Every gig that
Yeah.
you do, whether it's paid, whether it's promo, should be treated with the utmost respect. I've been on gigs with Jeremiah when artists, I'm talking topping artists, have not been able to pay us. We were on time, we knew our music, and we delivered. And then look at Jeremiah. He's a Kingsman on the Kingsman tour.
Listen, he's a Kingsman.
We're not going to do this on the end of this.
So just be
It's so beautiful.
faithful. Like Brother Williams was saying, just be encouraged and stay faithful. I wasn't out there doing it on that major scale. I started out Kevin Terry and Predestined. I went on to Charles Butler and Trinity. I went on to Jeff Majors, and people laughed at me. They were like, "You singing with Jeff Majors?"
They didn't know who Jeff Majors were.
It's very well.
Use the mic, James.
It pays very well. Intellectual properties. So I just be encouraged and be
Right.
faithful. Don't think you're gonna jump into this BGV thing and you're out there. I was honored that I got to work with Stems like a couple years ago, like the Stems. You know what I mean? And just be that excited about every gig. Don't treat it like, oh, this is just
Mhm.
this. I've never walked into a gig like that.
Mhm.
Right.
And that's how you get a call back.
Yes. Jeremiah?
My encouragement is know who you are. Know who you are. Your identity is everything. No matter who you work with, no matter what doors you walk through, no matter what opportunities you have, let those experiences build you. But your identity is not in the background work that you do for artists. A lot of people are disappointed because when they work for an artist, they think it may be long term and it may be something short term. Do not build your identity in that. Know who you are. You're going to be around some intimidating figures, intimidating people, and they will do it intentionally. And it will be designed to crush you. Know who you are. Second thing I would add, if you are a BGV, if you are creative, whatever you do, your social media is a resume. Your social media is a walking resume.
Talk about it.
Be
Talk about it.
careful what you say about Sunday Best. Be careful about what you say about other artists. Be careful about those situations. Leslie can tell you, and I'm going to say this without saying a name. I was able to pull BGVs together for a huge artist, a huge gospel artist that's been around forever. I'm talking about major. And there was some delay with our payment for this particular engagement. We were in a back room, and the artists had gotten upset because I was asking them about pay because we hadn't received payment.
Mhm.
And when the engagement ended, we still had not received payment.
Okay.
It was crazy. I mean, so much so that the artist wanted me. It was. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but all I'm going to say is we were mistreated. But nobody on this live had ever heard about that. Nobody on social media had ever heard. I've had some situations that I could talk about.
Right.
Be careful. You know why? Because these artists talk.
Careful,
Remember,
appropriate.
you're on
Yes.
live. You're on streams. They remember you.
Right.
If you wonder why you can't get work,
Right.
it's because you think Kim Burrell, somebody may not know who you are, but somebody's already whispered, don't hire that one. because you don't know how
Mm-hmm.
to talk and have discretion on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, group text,
Help, Lord.
because screenshots are real. So be careful. Be careful what you put out there.
Right.
That was an awkward bus ride, though.
Be careful, appropriate, and polite. There you go. Be
We had
careful.
fun on that
Oh
gig.
yeah,
It
Dave,
was amazing. It was
Dave,
an
you were there
amazing
too, right?
It was an amazing gig. It was an amazing gig.
It really was.
And you'll never hear me say otherwise.
And I got called after that gig for something that if I had showed myself,
And listen, we
I
wanted
would
to
have gotten.
go out. Jeremiah, can I speak for you? We
Speak.
wanted to flip chairs.
Speak.
We were promised something and it was not delivered. But I just want to be honest with y'all. That's what happens in this arena. That's
James was there too.
nature of this business.
It was crazy.
You could zap out, but just know that you're gonna zap out at home from now on, because nobody gonna call you baby.
Right.
Nobody.
Nobody, baby.
Be careful, be appropriate,
And be polite. I love that.
Demarcus, thank you.
Thank you guys. What?
No.
What, James? What you got?
No, I was just saying cat.
Okay.
Cat. See it?
Thank you guys so much. The live will be available for replay, and I'm also going to upload this to my YouTube channel, Ivory's Melody YouTube channel. So I encourage everybody to go to it and to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Ain't that what they say? So you can get notified of of all of these uploads. Thank you guys so much. I love each
Thank
and
you, Liz. Love you.
every one of you. This
Love you
was
too, sis.
awesome. Have a good night, everybody.
Okay, bye.
All right, take it easy.
Hello. Yeah. Now that was very supported, Jeremiah.
Yeah,
That
very supportive.
was very supported. He left. He left. It was very supported. That's what we're talking about.
I'll see y'all, man.
Down. Good night.
Y'all
everybody.
take it
Thanks
easy.
for that mic down.